So I want to begin the podcast today on a little bit different note, stepping out of our comfort zone a little bit and talking about what's going on not only around the world but in NorCal and the protests over the killing of George Floyd. It's something we're doing this on Monday afternoon. It happened all weekend and we saw it all around Northern California in different cities, people joining together to protest, and some of them were a little bit different than others. This isn't necessarily a NorCal issue, and this is not something that we'll talk about a lot on our networks, but it is a local issue to me. Um, we saw the protests start, late last week, and they sort of grew and grew, and the peaceful protests started to get more violent, and they started to turn into riots and looting. And I saw all the video, and I talked to some people who were at the looting and the riots in Sacramento, in downtown Sacramento, and just crazy. People were busting open windows to local businesses owned by local people and just stealing everything and just destroying entire stores. I spoke with our good friend Backcountry Craig. He's in downtown San Francisco, and he says it's just like a war zone there. It's definitely turned violent. It's definitely, everyone's breaking different stores, and that's where it becomes a NorCal issue for me. Is we're all about supporting local, and the fact that this issue is causing people to destroy local businesses is disconcerting.
Well, not only that, on Friday, a federal officer was killed in the riot. He was shot. 53-year-old Patrick Underwood of Pinole, Pino,
Yeah.
Pinole. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's terrible, terrible news, and it's a local issue pretty much across the country. Um, my best friend lives in Santa Monica. Yesterday, they were just absolutely going insane there. He was very worried. He has a newborn. I used to live in San Diego. There was an arrest on Friday in La Mesa, which is kind of East San Diego, that kind of went viral. It wasn't as violent, but there was definitely some violence in the video, and the kid should not have been arrested for sure. So there was huge looting in La Mesa, and a friend of mine actually went live there. He lives about 2 blocks from where all the mayhem was, and 3 buildings were set on fire within just from his front yard you could see. And so he was live all night. I couldn't stop watching it. It was unfortunate. Yeah, it's just a terrible story across the globe.
Well, and to be clear, there were actually some great peaceful protests that I saw. I saw a really good one in over in Eureka, up in Humboldt, where police officers were kneeling with the protesters. They were marching with the protesters, saying this is wrong. I saw, some peaceful protests in Reading. I saw a great protest in Orville where, they're passionate and they're loud, but they are peaceful. So this is where I really want to go with this conversation. There are two different types of people in these situations. There's peaceful protesters and people that believe so much in this issue, and rightfully so. I think everyone sort of agrees that this was a really bad situation that should not have happened, and something that we need to fix as a society. And sometimes the way to do that is through peaceful protests. And then there are looters, and they're opportunists, right? These people would steal from local businesses any day of the week. They happen to see an opportunity to do this, and they just go into this zone and they start messing businesses up. These are the people that I have an issue with.
So Trevor Noah had a different take on the looters, if you will. His take was that as a society, we have agreed that there are certain standards that we all should abide by. One of them being don't steal, don't loot. That's just a thing that in our culture has been we all know as not right. In He posted a video on Facebook that I watched this morning. Actually, it's like 18 minutes long, but it's really insightful, and it talks about how it's hard for him. It's hard to get upset with those looters because, as a society, yes, we have agreed that there are rules that we all should abide by. One of those rules is that all men are created equal, and that all police officers and all law enforcement should treat every person equal, no matter race, gender, sexual orientation, etc. His perspective is that these guys aren't going to hold up all of the other, cultural laws that we all abide by if the laws that affect them personally are being victimized and they're being exploited. And so it was a different take that I've heard. He talks about domino effects, and it's an 18-minute video. It's very insightful. I'm probably butchering it, but also today or yesterday, Barack Obama posted an article to Medium laying out the next steps he thinks protesters should take. He does outline in there that while there are some violent protesters, the vast majority of them,
99%
the
is
vast
peaceful.
majority of them are peaceful. And so this is an ongoing issue. It's been an issue for several years. It's going to continue to be an issue for several years to come until things are changed. I don't know how to do that. I am not the expert at it, but I have a feeling Obama probably laid out. I didn't read the article, but he probably laid out some pretty good ideas of the next steps.
Well, and I followed the Sacramento protests and subsequent riot pretty closely from journalists in the area, and they're talking about how not kids, people are just running up and stealing their cameras. They're stealing their phones from out of their hands because these people, there's the cops aren't there because they can't, right? So they're being selfish and they're stealing everything. And they broke into the Bevmo and there's guys with full handfuls of liquor. It's like really, and I think the biggest problem is these looters and these violent protesters are ruining the message that's being construed from the peaceful protesters and the people that want change, and they are literally burning their own neighborhood to the ground. For what? Like, that doesn't do anything. And it's sad because I think this was an opportunity for everyone to come together. I think everyone sort of has the same view that this type of stuff shouldn't happen. And I have law enforcement friends that have said from day one, there's some bad law enforcement officers out there, and the best way for us to stay safe is to get them off, because the people, if you match a bad police officer with a good one, then that puts the good police officer in danger because people distrust them and they want to resist. So but the looters, they messed everything up. And this is where it becomes personal to us, where you're damaging local business. We're all about local business here. We're all about Northern California, and that was really hard for me to see. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I know everyone's talking about it, and this is Monday, so I don't. This will probably come out on Tuesday. I don't know everything that's going to happen between now and then. I mean, we have curfews up. We have a curfew in Sacramento now. There's a curfew in
We
San
can't
Francisco.
not talk about it. It's what's
Right.
going on.
Right. And I do think, although this is a national issue, an international issue for that matter, it really hits home because people are messing with local businesses. And that's where I get pissed off. Literally, we have to go up and clean, our own streets because some jackasses feel that, they can steal and they could do whatever they want. And these are the type of bad people that would do it anytime they could. They just have this opportunity. So